what I later like. Realized that it's our way back. It felt terrifying. Where did you go? What is? Yep. Yep. We have. I'm going to do something.
I went yesterday to Louisiana for my granddaughter's
Yes,
graduation.
no. We'll talk later.
Yes.
It's all good.
Well, we had
Livestream. No,
graduation at 9 a.m.
thank you, swearing.
There I go.
No, they're that's right downstairs.
Doug's. She's told foolish.
Oh, hi, I'm Sarah Clark. I'm a neighbor.
Gonna stay there and get free.
Nice to meet you.
Get a job and
We live with Johanna.
oh, job.
I get sensitive with that.
Yeah.
The day that she see you, it's
Right
right
now. Athletic style.
Everyone's missing on today.
We're soon when
Okay, I think the mic. Check with one. Right now, now.
Yes, yes, and,
number 3, please. Your microphone is number 3.
okay, yes, remembrance.
Get the microphone.
It's number 3. I was thinking we do the mic here.
Yeah.
Stand there.
Okay. Solution 5.
Yeah.
I mean, I could just hold on to my script.
No. How about here? This is great. I'd like to put my paper into that.
Just two hands to gesticulate violently.
I'm a towel. Why are you walking? Gaffer tape.
Let's get this to Bill.
It doesn't lag.
That's good.
But it will go like it.
Question, wondering how to get it to you. How you straight across or around back?
I'll go out.
We're live. I have to take it off the phone off of Wi-Fi. It would, so it's just data and yeah.
I'll get it.
Live.
Oh, and Alvin's, yes.
I think so too.
Well, Shanna.
Oh, I don't need a South Austin. No. Now, one for you.
I know. It's just like
So people started getting that.
Excuse me.
You're actually flowers are called.
Yeah.
How you doing?
You're tingle.
the other guy didn't go. We should go. I just retired. Any day I want. Yes. Yeah, like. Rain. 5 gallons.
And it's number 5 out soon.
Okay, so you getting eaten by mosquitoes yet?
No, no.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
It's a 5 gallon bucket there. I've been amazed with air conditioning thing.
Oh, my gosh.
And I just have a mini split.
Yes, it's hard.
Sounds like.
Yeah, I do every. I haven't seen it. Thank you. I had a strain tooth and I stick the cat in the building. That. That's very good. Supposedly it's like. It's all
Night. Like 7 hole.
Maybe back.
Right.
Isn't that for?
Well, vegetables,
Before I edit there, I.
Got
I look at a microphone. It's.
Wow, that's the quickest change.
Well, not.
Yeah, they.
No, no.
Yeah, we will.
That's a very quick change.
Yeah. There's an insult in it. Yeah.
So, I think because that, yeah, so Ronnie, number 5 is Shannon's Park.
Okay.
I think.
Your work's coming out?
Can't see it.
So Ronnie, I'm using a direct box for her, so.
Yeah, I'll go to the top. This is like some sense.
They're lucky.
It's funny, your hair used to be like. It's real physical back. I'm sorry. Great.
But you're still like.
Right back and just boost it.
Yeah, I know.
I saw some letters right there that I thought, like, I was like, like, oh my God, that's so cool. But I know.
That's, yeah,
That's my very.
oh, I don't know, no, I finished.
Said if you know, then it's good, but anyway, especially.
And it's.
Still going.
Somebody stepped on.
But.
Just push the button, Sean.
And he doesn't have fun.
No.
Is this now?
She's outside by the dining room.
I'm Kate. Hi.
Oh.
Oh, yes, no. Nice to meet you. Yeah. No, right.
Oh, back's pretty. We clean up. Respond. Yeah. All did? The house. I know. Yeah.
I'm excited to see if I can.
Brian is. All right. How do you meet me?
Yeah, they're.
Oh, I'm Mel. I'm sorry. I'm so. Okay, Karen, why?
Yeah.
I knew you were. I knew. Like, oh. Yeah. I'm
I second.
I do have more tables. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, these are.
Yeah, they're a little different. They look like
They do. They don't look comfortable at all. We're gonna. No. John would want us to suffer at this. You know, not just drinking and having fun. It's a little suffering. It's an Irish thing.
Yeah, no, what about that?
All right? It's an Irish thing, right?
Oh, it's totally Irish. Making this moving on and beyond.
So,
And-
girl.
Bye.
Welcome to the sauna. I can. I'm impressed. Ronnie. I'm rocking this. Oh, thank you.
Hello, hello. Check 1, 2. Yeah, all here. We're not all there. Am I right? Right.
Yes, sir.
Stan and I will play something just to check the levels in my app here.
Okay, not that I'm not here to bring the latest together.
This is testing.
The thread is getting a little big.
There's something like.
Put
it up, man.
11.
Hey, man.
Sounds good from here. Sounds good from here.
It's a second. See, it's that. Yeah. Yeah. You keep that. Oh, 3 days. Yeah. Because we ran into David.
That's sound check.
Sound check.
Oh, something.
Well, that's fine.
Hey, do you? Yeah, so you got the stuff there. You're close to the water.
They're all on it. Yeah. Yay. And somebody loves to says your house is beautiful. Oh.
One section about you.
But you just don't like it. Oh. Yeah. Your son loved it. Gotta be.
I wish I didn't have. Means I could really be down in the back. I mean, with.
Do it on one leg if you want. So there's
I said it.
Sorry. What's that? It sounds a bit breathy. Oh yeah, that's right. That's the instrument.
Do you know what it is?
Thank you. Yes, I think Hey, I need one of those because the band didn't put me in them. This thing of missing.
It's just this. Yes. I have. Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty, I just even need to. I like how it is honest. Next.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning.
I want to welcome all of us here in person and all who are joining us online. I trust you all found places to park and including those online. Everyone knows where the bathroom is. And after the ceremony, I'm going to invite you to pick up your chairs and take them to the backyard where there will be a wonderful gumbo feast. And there are many, many tables, but absolutely no chairs. So bring your chair. Got it? Yep. And this is being live streamed and recorded. So if you do not wish to appear on camera, do not walk in front of the camera. Before we go any further, I want to acknowledge those who could not be here with us in person today. They would be here if they could, but we must carry on with them online, specifically Shanna's sister, Holly Norton, and her husband, Robbie Thomas. They are family. You're missed, but we love you, and we know you're here. And now, music. Oh, right.
You're up.
We'll hear words, memories from those who knew him well. Hello. My name is Kate. I'm Sean's youngest sister. Just a little background about our family. My mom had 6
Water, please.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Thank you. All right. Sorry about that. A little background about our family. My mom had 5 kids in 6 years. So we were all very close. And Sean loved his job as being the eldest statesman of our family, as you can imagine. So I'm going to share a few thoughts today about Sean growing up. The Sean I know is the exact same Sean that we lived with, for better or worse. Sean didn't change that much. Our father was a Marine Corps fighter pilot, and Sean was always wanted to fly planes. He knew engine sound. He knew which plane was which from the engine sounds. He dressed as a pilot and loved wearing the flight jacket. I'm sure you all know the flight jacket that I'm referring to. His dream did come true when he received the ROTC scholarship and was allowed to go to any school he got accepted to. He chose Tulane. John was a great reader. His tastes eclectic, anything he could get his hands on. He began reading at 3, and by 5, the nuns at the school sent him to the 6th grade to read to the 6th graders. Shame for the 6th graders, pride for Sean. My mom would swear that Sean read War and Peace at 5 years old. The kiddie books weren't cutting it anymore. Sean went to special schools after we moved to Annandale, Virginia. He needed to be challenged. He stayed in the GT schools until middle school, where he was with the regular people. One of the generous things about our parents was their love of animals, except cats. No cats. Sean did what any kid did. He brought home snakes. Dogs or turtles. No, snakes. To support his love of snakes, my parents enrolled him in a snake club through the public library, and he found and collected. One day, a 6-foot black rat snake got lost in our station wagon. It was named Sergeant Pepper, The people across the street were moving, and the mover saw us tearing through the car and came over and said, "What are you looking for?" And my mom said, "A 6-foot snake." And they looked at my mom and said, "Sell the car." We would have escaped snakes in the house throughout our lives, in the toilets, in the beds, anywhere, hanging from the ceilings, anywhere, until Sean left for college. His politics were in conflict with our conservative parents. When Sean was home from college, he would argue, and argue with our dad in particular. Sean had strong arguments, and our dad's tactic was not to engage after a time. But hearing Sean, I realized we could all have our own opinions and forge our own path. One day we were out playing and I got hit in the head with a golf club. I was knocked unconscious, and when I came to, I put my hand to my head and looked at it, blood everywhere. I was maybe 7 years old. I ran home to my sister who'd hit me in the head, yelling, "Don't tell Mom! Don't tell Mom!" I got to the house. Sean was reading, and he jumped into action. He told Pat, "Get the towels, Brian, get some water, and go get Mom." And he was our incident commander at our house. He really, really liked being in charge. For whatever reason, Sean and I had a friendship, oldest and youngest. It may have been that we both left the area after college. We both had wanderlust. He visited me in college. He came to my homes in Miami and Key Largo. When he and Shanna would visit DC, they'd stay with me in Baltimore. They got to know my kids, and my kids loved them. To keep the connection, Flat Stanley was sent to Austin and sent back to our house to share his adventure. They talked to my kids about places to visit, adventures to be had. My kids loved that. They were treated as equals, and my girls treasured those visits and loved their aunt and uncle. But the best thing about Sean, the very best, was his love for Shanna. The way they looked at each other and saw each other is rare. A perfect union of respect, love, and admiration. Few have that one true love, but they did, and everyone was a part of it. When my daughter married in 2004, Sean and Shanna were there. I remember Sean calling me and singing, "I'm going to a wedding, I'm going to a wedding." He was excited to be there, and that brought us so much joy. Little did us know it would be the last time. As we get older, there's so many last times, and you don't know they're even coming or happening at the moment. Looking back on that wedding weekend, every Kelly was there, with the exception of one nephew and his wife who had just had a baby. For the last time, we were all together, 5 siblings and their significant others, 9 nieces and nephews and their significant others. A huge party. It was a perfect last, if there is such a thing. So cheers to Sean and his beautiful and perfect life, but especially to Shanna, who he loved with every part of his being.
Hello, everyone. Good turnout. And thank you very much, Shanna, for giving me the opportunity to come up here and speak. My name's Monty Newton. This my wife, I want to say. I was going to get to that. This is my wife, Nell. We've known Shanna and Sean for 35 years. So here's how it started. In 1991, our wives met, but they were girlfriends then. That's what we called them. Somewhere, I don't know where they met, but with these women, it meant getting together, and that meant dinner. Our wives had already observed that we were both geologists and that we both used to fly airplanes. So they figured we'd get along pretty well. And of course we did. We got along great. It was the start of 20 or 25 years of shared dinners. But the thing that Sean and I shared most in common, besides being geologists, was that we'd both been through a half a decade of unemployment because the oil and gas industry was just completely collapsed in the mid 80s. And we'd spent 5 years or so underemployed and trying to get back into the field. It was very difficult. He and I had that in common, and we both had a focus to do that. We had both entered the industry as what's called mudlogging, which is kind of a rough field term for a rig geologist. We both lived on drilling rigs. Sean was in the North Sea. I was all over West Texas out in the desert. It's not much of a life. And then we were unemployed. But we both persevered. We didn't consider law school or insurance or sales. We kept working on it. We maintained our focus and resurrected our careers. By 1994, we had married our girlfriends in May, same month, a couple weeks apart, I believe. We didn't have a dual wedding, but we could have. We got state jobs, and we were able to come home and be with our wonderful wives every day at 5 o'clock and get paid. So over the decades, Sean and I exchanged countless books: history, U.S. Civil War, World War II aviation primarily. I could never keep up with his reading level. I mean, I was just in his library just now looking at those incredibly long Thomas Pynchon and Neil Stevenson tomes, that I could never read. And I assume he read them. But we shared history. And of course, as you can talk with Sean about anything, really. Our children grew up loving the company of Shannon and Sean. We shared so many dinners, and they recall their family. They would both be here, but they're working. Sean and I would discuss anything, any subject. He was never put off by the fact that I would change subjects frequently in conversation. We were both masters at random cross-talking over each other. Some people call that interrupting. But we kept on because we had a lot of material to cover. He was the highlight of any dinner party discussion, and he's the best storyteller I ever met. Speaking of storytelling, many of you may have known Mitch Mooney and his wonderful St. Patty's Day parties. He had one every year for at least 20 years running, and it was complete with Irish whiskey, corned beef, cabbage, potatoes, and a continual loop of The Quiet Man running on the television. And what became a popular thing was that Sean would tell this Irish priest joke. I'm not going to tell it. But I just can't do that. I can't do the Irish brogue. But it got so popular, people would actually show up at the party and say, "Has Sean told his joke yet?" No, not yet. He'd wait till he got to a good crowd, and then we'd all gather around and get to hear his joke. And it's one of those jokes that doesn't have just a kick butt punchline, but it's really funny. I think you kind of well, it helps to be Catholic, perhaps. Well, okay, I will. But I haven't heard it like 10 years. But this priest, an Irish priest, is supposed he's not allowed to play golf on Sunday. But he decides it's going to be a beautiful day. It's what?
I think it's Easter Sunday.
It's Easter Sunday. Okay. So he decides to go play by himself because no one will know. And so St. Peter's talking to God and says, "Man, this is not good." And he says, "Okay, just hang on." So he hits the ball and he hits a hole in one. And of course, the guy's jumping up and down like, "Oh, God, this is the most wonderful thing." And then he hits par two, a two on the next one. Then he hits another hole in one, and God's making this happen, And of course, St. Peter said, "What are you doing?" And the guy's just jumping up and down. He's so happy. It's the best day of his life. And she says, "What are you doing, God? Giving him this kind of day?" And he says, "Who's he going to tell?" but Sean could really tell that. Okay, thank you. So I wasn't going to tell that, Jeff. But anyway, I want to say I considered Sean a man of a first-rate mind. He was a good talker and he was a good listener. He was open-minded, liberal, and kind. He held our personal covenant of friendship and respect, and he adored his wife. He cherished his friends and he loved his South Austin neighborhood. We all miss him very much. Thank you so much for being here.
Where's Gene? It's time for you, Gene.
No, you go. It's just nice. You might need to adjust my, oh, I'm sure that's fine.
Perfect.
There we go. Hi. I'm Gene, and I was Sean's friend and roommate in college. I was going to start with something silly because I thought that the urn with his ashes would be here. They're there. And I was going to tell him that he's changed a great deal since I've last seen him. Something like that when we were in college, we talked about our earning capacity, but we had no idea that we would mean it in that context. That's inappropriate. So in all seriousness, we all know Sean, and we all know that the man should have been put away years ago. So with Sean, I thought a lot about, well, what stories could I tell, right? What story? But with Sean, it's not the relationship or background where, oh, remember the time when he did such and such. The relationship, as you all know, with Sean, it's not so much story related as it is about the dynamic of the interactions, the personal interactions, that dynamic, those stories, which resonate with each of us has them. When I first met Sean, we were pledging Beta Theta Pi fraternity, and during one of the Rush events, they introduced me to, hey, I want you to meet somebody else who's going to be pledging. And I was from California, from Southern California, pretty full of myself, wearing my blue jean vest and my hat. But so they introduced me to this guy. This is Sean Kelly. And there's this guy who's got this like an afro and beads. And none of it made any sense to me. But it was clear to me that I was going to be pledging a fraternity with eclectic people, very different people. And what further didn't make any sense to me was that here is this guy who's dressed like this, and hi, I'm going to be in the Air Force. I'm in ROTC. And I thought, this is not the place for me. This is the wrong fraternity. So it was just incongruous. It didn't make sense. But that's how it started. He was unique. He didn't fit into the typical pledge mold. One of the things, one story, is that one of the things they used to do for pledges is they would kidnap you. And the, the seniors or juniors would gather you up, they'd put you in a car, they'd drive you down. This was to the remote parts of New Orleans and have you find your way home. So one day I remember we were at the fraternity house and it was like in a movie. I had like this old Mercedes. It looked like a mafia vehicle that drives up, and we're going to get Kelly. We've never gotten Kelly. Got to get Kelly. He was had a way of being evasive. Uh, but it took a team of them, and they gathered him up and wrapped him up. And before I know it, Sean's back. He had escaped from. He didn't even get in the car. And what was interesting to me about it is that Sean didn't fit into a mold, but there was a dignity, a quiet dignity that just, he was disgusted by the fact that they were going to do this. It was childish. I'm willing to do a certain amount of things, but this is childish. I'm not going to do it. There was a sense of self and a sense of dignity that was unique. I hadn't seen that in anyone else. I won't tell you about the times I was kidnapped, and but he didn't. He, as I got to know him in the freshman year, adored his parents, his family. They were central to him. He honored his father. He wanted to be a fighter pilot. He wanted, I believe, his father, Tom, flew the Phantom, if I recall. And that's what one of the things he wanted to do, wanted to fly the fighter planes. But it was amazing to me as I got to know him more, is that here he's carrying this load of Air Force ROTC education. Because I should say, after that fraternity meeting and he comes back and classes started, here comes this guy who had this fro, and he's got the uniform, the short hair, and it was holy mackerel. He carried both of those parts with him. But what I was going to say is, as he was studying in the ROTC, he did those classes, he did geology, but most of the time it was reading science fiction, primarily science fiction. And how he was able to do this and maintain his courses and ROTC and read as voraciously as he did was mind-boggling to me. We became roommates in sophomore year. We were able to share our room in the fraternity house. And what I would say that I learned about Sean then was he had an unlimited sense of curiosity, an unlimited sense of hospitality beyond fraternity, of making the stranger feel welcome. Always, always, always with a book, always, from what I remember, with a cigarette. Late nights, going to bed, Sean's up, it's 2 o'clock, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and he's still reading all the Thomas Pynchon, everything. Music, his passion, his interest in the Grateful Dead at that time. And I remember him saying, well, I said, well, why are you so into the Grateful Dead? It was, what had touched him was the element of spirituality, musicianship, and the fact that when things really kicked off with the Grateful Dead, the most that Jerry Garcia would do is maybe put his foot out, and it was not a lot of hoopla to it. And so I learned to like the Grateful Dead through that. Sean, through whether it was through science fiction or it attracted him. He was a humanist. I don't know if you know the author, Harlan Ellis was a favorite. He was a humanist. There was not a mean bone in his body, ever. Never saw humor at anybody's expense, but he was mischievous. He was mischievous. We had a thing in the fraternity house on the top floor, which I don't know if he built, but there was a window in the attic, and it was called a hooter shooter. Has anybody ever heard of a hooter shooter? Just one. So what that was is a large funnel that was then attached to a couple of surgical tubes that were somehow secured to the wall, and then you'd pull this thing all the way back with tremendous force, and you'd shoot whatever, balloons or eggs or something. And that was Sean's joy, was pummeling the Pike, whatever, the Pike fraternity house that had a fire truck. But that was the extent of if there was any kind of roguishness, it was that. We became very, very, very close. I don't know why we could not have been more different. I was going into biology, and then ultimately that didn't work in philosophy. Ultimately wound up in law. But if you had to pick two people that could not have been more different, if I had to find somebody, it was Sean Kelly. And yet our relationship became such a combined identity. It was Elliot Kelly, Kelly Elliott, in everything. And I can't tell you what those stories were, but he became a part of me. We did, he introduced me to psilocybin in many different forms. Because back in, say, freshman year, marijuana, well, that was not a big deal, but psilocybin. And it opened up a lot of doors to me, and we spent a fair amount of time doing that. And it led to a lot of adventures, but also to an extraordinary closeness and mutual respect and admiration. His love of geology and the Air Force was only surpassed by his love of music and science fiction and reading and getting to know people. We took very separate paths over the years. I then, after my senior year, we stayed in touch, but our lives diverged, and we both, I think, mutually respected that and gave each other that kind of space to grow in our lives. And Lord knows how he loved you, Shanna. When Shanna informed me of Sean's passing, I'll just share with you that I wrote, Sean was, is, and will always be one of the deepest parts of myself. We were so very, very different, and I loved him so much. We were the most unlikely of friends, but he became my brother, my confidant, my mirror, my window, more than my best friend. Time, distance, and the divergence of the paths of life would never change that. So special, unique, loving, brilliant. In many ways, a different dimension of a different dimension. Finding his way and his place here while leading others to explore places within themselves of love, compassion, and caring they otherwise may never have gone. Godspeed and travel well, my dear friend Sean Kelly, as I know you will. I trust and hope we shall meet again.
Just
Yeah, very good. Oh, I.
Who's good? So cute.
Just bend. From the Tempest. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep. No, just trying to get it just kind of there. More less. Oh, my friend, you are gone. And here we are to remember all the fullness of. May you now give me the grace and courage to eulogize you well. As not as big as medium-sized Jock, but bigger than wee Jock would say. Oh, whaley, whaley, whaley. A big job is gone, and a fine one at that. Sean was a gent who dressed well for every occasion, and naturally he owned a tuxedo, and naturally he looked good in it. Shanna reminded me how in 1991 she and I got to chatting about our bows, and we noticed that they were both oil and gas geologists, and they were both pilots, and they were both charming and witty. We planned a double date, figuring that either the two of them would get along very well, or we would show up 1-2 timing cad. As it turned out, Sean and Monty were two very separate gents, and everything clicked. And here are some of the early memories. Before we were all married, Monty was out of town, and I was stopping by to feed his cat, and Shanna and Sean were with me, and Sean went out into the backyard to explore, and he heard some faint squeaks, little chirps, and he carefully tracked them down to a big pile of leaves, and he began digging in the leaves and found a small baby possum. More digging uncovered 5 more possums, and we guessed that the mama had hidden them and then gone off and never came back, and they were cold and hungry. As he extracted each little possum, he would stuff it into the pocket of his Oxford cloth shirt. And soon there were 6 little tails curling out over the top. Because being marsupials, they felt secure in a pocket. And they rode to the animal rescue place quietly. And that was classic Sean. Who else would have been so curious to go explore that sound and track it down and then known to go digging? It was evident to anyone who looked at them that he was completely in love with Shanna. He was a romantic in his bones, and their engagement announcement took the form of Shakespeare's sonnet 116. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love, which alters when its alteration finds. While modern couples might pledge their love for all of our days together, Sean was a firm traditionalist, and they vowed to be married until death do them part. No, my friends, I cannot believe that even death is part of the marriage of their hearts. For a person who only ate once a day, Sean did love good food. Once we made a wild plan to prepare an authentic French cassoulet. In our combined efforts, it took 3 days. And Sean prepared the duck legs and the pig's feet, while I was in charge of cleaning the leeks and simmering the white beans. And finally, the ingredients were all assembled and baked for hours. When the glorious dish came out of the oven with red wine flowing and a sensible salad somewhere off over there, baguettes lavished with butter, we feasted like French peasants. And then the next day, we all farted like French peasants. The kind of farts where the cats leave the room and won't look at you for 2 days. It was deemed a complete success, but some wisdom prevented us from ever doing it again. And we often shared preparations for Thanksgiving. And one year I procured this enormous heirloom turkey, and Sean set out to spatchcock the bird. And it was partly because it was so big, and partly because he just loved saying spatchcock. Now, this critter had spent months roaming around pastures and had built up substantial muscles and bone. And in the process of cutting out the backbone, which became a wrestling match, and then in one horrifying moment, Sean's 12-inch Wursthof chef's knife snapped in half. At first, there was swearing that pinned back the ears of his in-laws. Then there was nothing left to do but laugh and carry on. When they joined Holly and Robbie to celebrate Robert Burns' birthday with food and poetry, Sean wrote haggis haiku. Here's to Robbie Burns. How shall we celebrate? Mash a sheep's innards. Heart, liver, and lungs. I don't think there is enough whiskey in the world. Here's to Robbie Burns. I hope that's just gristle. Thank God there's whiskey. Of course he completed the New York Times crossword puzzle every day, including Sunday. He felt the Sunday puzzle was the easiest. And of course he did it in ink. Pencils were for weenies. As we've heard, Sean read far and wide, Thomas Pynchon, Terry Pratchett, and everything in between. And you might have seen him sitting sentry on the ledge at the corner of Bolden and Post Oak, reading under the streetlight. His neighborhood name was The Reader. The week before he died, he was spent at the Texas Book Festival, enjoying readings by John Scalzi and Martha Wells. If you ever discussed books with him, you knew he wasn't a snobby boor about it. It was just because he really, really liked to read. Now, despite a childhood deprived of cats, Sean loved cats, and he admired them for being exactly cats. He named a large white cat Raoul de la Perla Pimpin, a character from Thomas Pynchon's Gravity's Rainbow. And most of the household cats arrived missing an eye. There was one-eyed Jack, and then Socks, not so named for her little white toes, but because of the empty eye socket. If he visited your home, Sean would want to meet your cat and would praise it the way other people might say nice things about your children. He came back from being introduced to my mother's cat and pronounced, "That Joey, he's a hell of a cat." High praise, indeed. Dear ones, there is now a Sean-shaped hole in our lives. It is the price we pay for having met and loved and laughed with this remarkable man. He gave himself to the arts, to his friends, to his community, but mostly he gave himself to his beloved wife. His devotion to Shanna was pure and complete. May their love stand as an example of steadfastness, joy, and comfort. Let it now be our work to love Shanna forward. He carries his memory. And may all these memories forever be a blessing in our hearts. May it be so, and blessed be. Let's do it.
Okay, we're going to warm the act up a bit now after that. 'Cause Sean would like it that way. My name, thank you. My name is Stuart Hampton, and I've been a friend and neighbour of Sean's for over 30 years. And someone spoke of his mischievousness. Very true. He also had a great ear for satire. And I'm going to honor him today by singing a song that he sang exactly where I'm standing 2 years ago during Play Music on the Porch Day. It's a song, a satirical song by Tom Lehrer about feeding pigeons. I think some of you will know it. If you do, please sing along. But I just want to put this announcement before I sing it for any animal lovers out there. This is satire. No animals were actually harmed during the creation or production of this song. Okay, got that out of the way. Secondly, I have a personal connection because as a young man, I was a pigeon feeder. I grew up just north of London, and every few months my parents would take the kids in the 50s and 60s. Unbelievable. Anyway, my parents would take the kids into town and we go to Trafalgar Square. And in Trafalgar Square, there were thousands and thousands of pigeons and scores of people feeding them. And I, at an early age, became a pigeon feeder. And what you do is you go into the square and you buy a bag of peanuts or bird feed, and then under the watchful single eye of Lord Nelson, you extend your hand with bird feed or peanuts in it, and instantly there are a dozen pigeons all over you. They're on your hand, on your arm, on your shoulder, on your head. Such fun, such fun. But I have to report that in the last 40 years, when I go back to England, which I do every year, and go to Trafalgar Square, which I do every year, there is only a handful of pigeons walking around. Thousands and thousands of birds are missing. And I think it has to do with this song. Spring is here, spring is here. Life is skittles and life is beer. I think the loveliest time of the year is the spring. I do, don't you? That you do. But there's one thing that makes spring complete for me, and makes every Sunday a treat for me. All the world seems in tune on a spring afternoon when we're poisoning pigeons in the park. Every Sunday you'll see my sweetheart and me as we poison the pigeons in the park. When they see us coming, the birdies all try and hide, but they still go for peanuts when coated with cyanide. The sun shining bright, everything seems all right when we're poisoning pigeons in the park. We've gained notoriety and caused much anxiety in the Audubon Society with their games. They call it impiety and a lack of propriety and quite a variety of unpleasant names. But it's not against any religion to want to dispose of a pigeon. So if Sunday you're free, why don't you come with me and we'll poison the pigeons in the park? And maybe we'll do in a squirrel or two when you're poisoning pigeons in the park. We'll murder them all amid laughter and merriment, except for a few we take home to experiment. My post will be quickening with each proper strychnine we feed to a pigeon. It just takes a spitting to poison a pigeon in the park.
Okay. Well, closing reading from Terry Pratchett's Thief of Time. And they are told of when, the eternally surprised, who considered the nature of time and understood that the universe is, instant by instant, recreated anew. Therefore, he understood, there is in truth no past, only a memory of the past. Blink your eyes and the world you see next did not exist when you closed them. Therefore, he said, the only appropriate state of mind is surprise. The only appropriate state of the heart is joy. The sky you see now you have never seen before. The perfect moment is now. Be glad of it. Okay, yes. Now, many of you received the handout. We are getting ready for the sing-along portion. And remember, afterwards, you carry your chairs to the back.
I'm not ready to use it. Let's check in the diamond. Testing 1, 2, 3. Looks like we're on. Here we go. Great song from Pete Seeger and Woody Hayes. If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning, I'd hammer in the evening, all over this land, I'd hammer out dirt, I'd hammer out point, I'd hammer out love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. If I had help, I'd bring it in the morning, I'd bring it in the evening. All this land,
I really got angel. I really got warning. I bring out love between my brothers and my sisters all over the sky. If I had a song, I'd sing it in the morning. I sing it in the evening. All over this side, I sing out angel. I sing out morning. I sing out love between my brothers and my sisters all over this side. Well, I got a hammer and I got a nail, and I got a song to sing all over this land. It's a hammer of justice. It's the battle. It's a song about love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. It's a hammer of justice. It's the battle. It's a song about love between my brothers and my sisters all over this
More cowbell.
Here's the facts, everyone. Hello, Bryce. Here are the not here.
Adrian, can I turn that to no. Yeah, I'm.
Pretty sure you're not gonna pick that up.
Ellen's got.